Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos and Bretonnia. It's going to be myself with Festus facing off against Hadries, who's going to be coming in hot with the newly improved King Louen, rocking some ward saves. Certainly quite excited with his sweet mustache. So let's get this party started, have some fun, and see how this all goes. Now, as far as the build goes for myself, it's going to be a pretty heavy metal build. In the front line, it's going to be baseline Marauders. Obviously, I have a lot of other expensive pieces, which we'll be going over in a minute, but yeah, you got to bring the Marauders if you want the big fun stuff. So double Giant. Giants with Festus are a very, very powerful combo. They're a little bit vulnerable against Peasant Archer Fire, but they hit hard enough to just outright karate chop Grail Knight models. They're pretty good against the Bretonnian characters. So if you're in a situation where you're facing Fey Enchantress and Double Paladin, for example, the Giants are going to be able to basically just act as a giant scalpel to remove those pieces and to let the rest of your army shine. However, I don't think the Fey Enchantress is going to be the auto go-to anymore like she used to be. I still think she's a very viable option, but you're going to be seeing more Louen now as well with some of the recent changes. And yeah, Giants, it's massive HP pool. They only cost 1,400. Festus healing. They hit like trucks. What's not to love? Now, another forbidden Chaos deck I really like is the Exalted Heroes of Khorne. So you use 2 of your marks to bring these guys on their Juggernauts, which gives them huge armor piercing, big charge bonus. They're basically like mini legendary lords. And they also have access to an item called the Potion of Toughness, which is a really big heal as well. It's going to be healing them 0.80 per second for 21 seconds. So it's around, 15-16% of their HP in total, which is incredibly cost effective. And also buffs their stats, right? Festus for the healing, he's got Rancid Visitations and Fleshy Abundance, and that is it for my army. And there are 2 of those characters, 2 of the Khornate characters. And yeah, they're a bonus for his infantry, but even still, I found that the Exalted Heroes of Khorne do pretty well against large targets too. Their melee attack is 75, so what's not to love? For Hadri's army, it's going to be Foot Squires. Foot Squires certainly loving the new changes to the Grail Reliques. So Grail Reliques not only give them leadership now, not as much as before, but it gives them melee attack too. So the Bretonnian front line is going to be much more viable at fighting and grinding in terms of like their damage output now. So Foot Squires and Peasant Archers in the back, which is a very, very good thing. He brought them to deal with my Giants. He's got Peasant Mobs, couple Spears, and I believe he did not have any Cav in his opening army, but it's very normal for Bretonnian players in multiplayer. Oftentimes in domination mode, they're going to be coming in with mostly their infantry, which they'll move up, and then they pull in the faster, heavier cavalry as the game does progress here. So Horsemen do get caught a little bit by Louen. He pops the Lion Shield to give him the missile resist. So he's got 40% missile resist plus 15% ward save for the Blessing of the Lady. So he's going to be mitigating that damage by 55%, which is pretty sweet for sure. So he pulls back and just playing a little bit of a dance here. As we move up, myself, I summon in some Marauder Horsemen Throwing Axes, which have always been very good against Bretonnia from the Chaos perspective. They're good against Foot Squires, they're good against all the heavy cavalry, most of the characters. And yeah, they can also charge and ride down peasants and whatnot. So we head to objective number 2. I would imagine Hadri is going to be doing maybe a collapse on objective number 3, seeing I have a very big mouth-breathing Death Star style of play. So having to move up to objective number 2, and just fighting me in a blob here would not be good for him with Festus and whatnot, right? In the back, we got some Chaos Warrior Grey Opens coming in. Chaos Warrior Grey Opens, I think, are a good compromise between Halberds and, the shielded variant, because what's cool about the Halberds is, yes, they're good against the cavalry, but they're going to struggle horribly against Foot Squires, whereas I find that Chaos Warrior Grey Opens do very well against, cavalry and infantry. They hit hard enough, they have good armor piercing. I feel like they're a safer middle ground than just going purely for Halberds, who are going to be heavily out-traded in terms of value by Foot Squires and units like that, right? So pulling back, doing a little bit of kiting against Louen, and here we get the Exalted Heroes of Khorne. Thinking about going in there. I didn't know if Hadri's was awake at the keyboard, and he was. So the Damsel pulls back, and the Grail Knights are coming in to provide the assist and make sure that my Exalted Heroes are not going to be hunting down the Damsel in distress. So in the backfield, Louen's still hunting, but very happy with this trade. Horsemen just kind of chipping away HP. We get great weapons there, and objective number 2 is going to be grabbed by us, and now the frontline fighting is underway. So the Champions of Khorne, the Exalted Heroes, do intercept the Grail Knights, and they do pick off a Grail Knight model, but unfortunately the Grail Knights are able to get away. Very, very good micro right there, but still trying to hunt them down with the Giant. A couple Marauders, and it looks like they are going to be dragged into combat, where the Khornate Champions hopefully will be able to do well. Now, this is a little bit unfortunate. One of the Khornate Champions did overextend slightly, and is getting hammered and harassed by those Grail Knights, but I do pop the Potion of Toughness there, and so far so good. And also we respond with the Rancid Visitations, but Regrowth is active on them as well, so that is going to be kind of countering the damage that I do have coming in there, but overall we should be okay. Festus is on his way in. The healing on the Exalted Hero of Khorne was able to stabilize him despite the Alpha Strike from Bretonnia. And the Grail Knights do take a bit of a pounding, and honestly, we're pretty even on value, which is always a good thing for me. I have access to a lot of healing, so if the value is even, that's going to be, I would say, a pretty good boon. So pulling back, Grail Knights did move out. Looks like they're trying to chase down the Marauder Horsemen Throwing Axes, but again, that's going to be pretty cost-effective for the Skirmisher units. And we do call in some Armored Trolls. Armored Trolls, they hit hard, but yeah, you don't want to be taking a charge like this without support. So beautiful charge from the Bretonnians here. Hadri's gets very, very nice contact, but Chaos Warriors coming in with their Great Weapons and should be able to provide some big axe support. And you can see the Grail Knights are being dragged down slowly by the hordes of trolls and great weapons. In the meantime, though, the bit of the issue with the Giant, right, is that you can't be everywhere at once. So yes, we're going to be pulling back to this objective. Hadri's does take control over objective 2. So at this point, I'm kind of like, okay, I need to consolidate my forces, get some good value, and have a big central focused push. So Grail Knight's getting another Earthblood right there, sitting at 32 of 48 models. King Louen with some nice debuffs, but now the Exalted Heroes of Khorne have arrived, the champions of the Blood God. Going to be trying to pick off models where they can. This Giant's going to be making his way back, and the other Giant is running from the Peasant Archers as well. So we're really kind of focused back onto the objective here. Currently looking at value, it's about 28 to 35. He does have healing, but so do I, and I would say I have a little bit more healing, so value is actually very even now. This is a good opportunity for us to get the Chaos Trolls in here, so the Chaos Trolls got their beat sticks, and hopefully they will be able to push back the Foot Squires as well as the Grail Knights, who are starting to lose a little bit of models, but nonetheless the healing and their new stat line has been doing some big favors for them. But yeah, Chaos Armor Trolls are really good. If any of you guys are trying to learn the Warriors of Chaos, I've recently had my eyes open to how good the Armored Trolls are. Yeah, their leadership's a little bit low, but their stats, their armor piercing, their durability with 110 armor, especially against things like Peasant Archers, it's just so good. So value trading here, we're only down by about 800 right now. More Trolls and Exalted Heroes bouncing out. That's another thing to consider when we're talking about healing, is the efficacy of the Trolls healing. So Trolls obviously do heal themselves. So that is something you need to take into account when you're really looking at the value bar up here. Back in the objective, we're holding it down, but Bretonnia very comfortable. We do see objective 2 being held by Bretonnia, the back objective being held by the Champions of the Lady. So it looks like Hadri's going to be going for a little bit of a stuffing strategy, basically sending everything he has at my back objective, which means, yes, I might start to get a pretty big value lead since he's kind of moving into my defensive posture. But on that same coin, I'm going to be falling massively behind on points, and there is a position in which I could lose objective number 3 and really start to fall behind on points. So the Grail Knights finally do get taken out, but not before they do some pretty heavy damage. I mean, they really punished my character. They did some good work against the Trolls. Grail Knights currently sitting at about 1800 value, which is around what they cost. So they just barely paid for themselves, which is good to see. I love to see like elite units really shining and doing well, but my poor Giant here getting absolutely wrecked. So Festus does move in with the healing elixirs, also going to be using a Fleshy Abundance. Thankfully, the Bretonnians, I do not believe, have any fire arrows here, so this Giant is going to be able to heal up pretty heavily. And you can see his HP is just skyrocketing up as those arrows do not do enough DPS here. So going for a little bit of a ninja attempt here. I thought about moving over to objective number 2 to try and steal this, but King Louen did move over there. I also had a couple hounds, so I got 2 Chaos Warhounds saved up for a bit of an alpha strike because, you know, peasants and spearmen at arms will actually get mulched pretty badly by Chaos Warhounds. So I was thinking I could do a little bit of a cheeky push on that objective, but I figured it wasn't quite time, considering how well Hadri's was maneuvering, keeping King Louen nearby, and also calling out his Knights of the Realm and more Grail Knights. So very dicey stuff, but we're holding on here. The 2 Exalted Heroes are going to be moving back and trying to shut down the Grail Relique with their giant battle axes, and so far they're in pretty good shape. The Giants are also somewhat healthy. If you look at the Giants here, this one's at about 60-70%, the other one's at full health, so with the healing taken into account, those bad boys are in good shape. More Trolls on their way back in. Knights of the Realm going to be pulling back. Peasant Archers have almost used all their ammo, so using the classic face-to-foot style, letting my brave warriors basically just take it right in the face. Chaos loves doing that. It's definitely very much in flavor in terms of their faction aesthetic. So Chaos Warriors, or Hounds, excuse me, hustling around the side, trying to find some opportunities. I'm like, all right, let's start nibbling here. The Grail Relique was keeping these Bretonnians fighting long past their expiration date, but we do finally get the route with the Exalted Heroes. Hounds coming in to break the peasant mobs, and it looks like there is going to be some Knights of the Realm looping around the back, most likely to try and corral and chase my Marauder Horsemen, which they may have some success doing, but the Bretonnian army is starting to run out of steam, and value is actually even at this point, so 4.9 to 5.4. So if we can keep this grind going and just start to just keep getting this value back, I'm feeling confident, or I was feeling confident at this point, that I could push out and grab the other objectives, and Bretonnia might be a little bit too weak to do anything about it. Both Giants are in good shape, right? So Knights of the Realm pulling back. Archers are just about out of ammunition. We have Grail Knights sitting back here. We did manage to hold on to the point for quite some time. And here the Knights, looks like they're just going to be retreating backwards as the Bretonnian army finally does start to break here. Their leadership certainly is no joke. King Louen finding some isolated Trolls over here. Sword of Crone active, trying to get a very cheeky terror route, but the Trolls able to hold pretty firm, especially considering there's no archer fire, no cavalry hammering them. The Grail Knights look like they're thinking about charging here, but very conservative cav play from Hadri's, being very cautious. But again, I think that is the right play here, as he is holding the value even while also trading on the objectives well. So Grail Knights get a huge erect charge right there, punishing those Chaos Trolls. We send Forsaken in for a bit of a screen against the other Grail Guardians. Oh, these are Grail Guardians. Hell yeah, they're so cool. But I think we're okay here. We have the Giants, we have the double Exalted Hero, but the Sword of Crone debuff is so nice. That melee defense and armor debuff on that blob. Unfortunately for me, I don't have Festus in the blob, which is a bit of an issue. Hadri's did use his Knights of the Realm to kind of corral Festus over here, pushing him away from the support. So I don't have the healing, I don't have the Mortis engine, the Trolls are starting to break, Forsaken are breaking, and the Giants are really going to have to hard carry this one. And they're doing quite well. I mean, you can see here the Grail Guardians are losing models pretty rapidly. The fact that these things have 700 weapon strength makes them very, very solid, just like straight up clubbing models, no matter how durable they are, right? It's a very cool shot. All the legendary Knights of Bretonnia taking down these giant beasts is exactly what we signed up for. So Exalted Heroes of Khorne, how they doing? Looking at the value here, we got 44 models on this bad boy, currently at 500 value. The other one sitting at 628, which isn't bad. They cost just over 1,000. They still have a lot more to give, so we're going to see what they can do over the course of this long battle as the Giants continue to take some of these cavalry to the club. Festus is unfortunately pushed away from the blob, and the back objective was stolen by Bretonnia, so that certainly feels pretty bad here, as we are kind of shoved back. But we got some sneaky, tricksy Hobbits' plays. He finally committed his cavalry to the blob, so we sprung our ambush as well as the Chaos Warhounds and Horsemen maneuver over here, and the Bretonnian peasants are not going to be holding up terribly long. And we do flip this objective. So we basically just maintain the status quo, you know, and knowing that he would come for this objective with some cavalry, I preemptively sent some Chosen of Nurgle. Now, Chosen, I actually think are really, really good against Bretonnia. They can dominate pretty much all the Bretonnian cavalry in combat, all the infantry. 120 armor makes them really resilient against peasant fire. And as I played into this game, one of the things I was wishing, I was like, man, I wish I had more Chosen. But you'll see here, they're going to be fighting the Grail Knights, and they'll take a little bit of damage, but yeah, they basically took no damage from that Grail Knight charge. And then we countercharge them with the Hounds, which is going to be locking them into place, and the big brutes of Nurgle going to be taking these guys to Pound Town for sure with their giant great weapons. And they hit hard, they have poison, their armor piercing values are off the chain, and overall the Grail Knights are going to be taking a really, really bad trade here. On this back objective, though, Festus and company, you know, we do fall behind a little bit on value, but I think with our healing, we're probably even, if not slightly ahead on value. And looking on this objective, it still is owned by Bretonnia, so we got to wrestle hard for this one. Festus with the healing elixirs, keeping those giants online, as the Bretonnian cavalry going to be moving over here to try and resecure this objective. Unfortunately, I'm fighting off the point, but the Grail Knights are being worn down. Looking at Grail Knights, about 2,000 value. I believe these are the ones earlier. They might have been resummoned, so this could be their second life. But the Chosen of Nurgle taking a surprising amount of damage, considering it's just the Grail Knights. But obviously, in a straight-up fight, Grail Knights cost, what, 1900? Chosen of Nurgle are 1550 with the great weapons. So I think that the Chosen of Nurgle in a straight-up fight would be much more cost-effective if they're just grinding. Obviously, with cycle charging and mobility taken into account, it's a very different beast. But more cavalry moving in, Louen as well. And the Chosen of Nurgle really, really need to put this game on their back right now. They need to do it just super, super hard in the paint. So we resecure objective number 3, and the Warriors of Chaos going to be heading on over to objective number 2 to try and anchor that one down. And I do call in a Hell Cannon as well. Back in the days of Warhammer 2, Hell Cannons were considered a pretty good choice against Bretonnia. You basically just sat back, defended them with Chaos Halberds, they would kill Foot Squires, they would kill the cavalry units. What's kind of cool about Hell Cannons too is they do have the Chaos Dwarf voice lines now, which is very, very fun. But big shot right there, nails the middle of that formation. And the Chosen of Nurgle, just absolute middle linebackers, forcing back the Knights of Bretonnia, and literally took a fight against Grail Guardians, Grail Knights, and Louen, and are still just like at half health, man. Such a cool unit. I feel like the past couple patches, we've seen nerfs to like Vortex spells and elite units getting buffed across the board, which is very encouraging. I love seeing like elite units, whether it be these Bretonnian cavalry or my Chosen of Nurgle or my giants, you know, these exalted heroes. Like, it's really cool to be able to see those type of things do well, right? So now I know I need to get this objective. I need to get it quick because this is going to be a triple cap situation. He has a good point on me. And by the time I would be able to wrestle objective 2, I would need all 3 objectives. So we call in more horsemen, more mobility. We get some marauders coming up to buffer our objective. And these Chaos Warriors and Marauders will be heading over towards objective number 1 here in a minute. And the Chosen of Nurgle fighting the good fight, trying to get up on the point, trying to get that sweet, sweet 5 capture weight as more giants make their way in. And what is that buff on those guys? It looks like that is Fleshy Abundance on my Chosen. Okay, so we just got the Festus healing down. Another shot from the Hell Cannon. Lovely. It hits the tree right there. Love to see it. A couple Marauder Horsemen moving in, but unfortunately the Grail Knights will probably give them the business. Trying to get the Giants in here, and we do have the 2 big Giants and the Exalted Heroes going after the King of Bretonnia. So this is a very cost-effective fight for us, but King Louen is new and improved. He's got 1,000 more HP than he had before. He's much better fire. The Grail Knights get a nice rear charge. That was really, really beautiful. So the Giant's looking like he's in trouble. 1,700 HP, Exalted Heroes in a little bit of danger. The other Giant just trying to waddle around and find a home, but man, oh man, those Knights are dragging down the Chaos Giant. -9 leadership, and that's going to be leaving the Cornate Champions more or less on their own to fight against the King of Bretonnia, which is no small feat. So knowing it's a triple cap, like I said, I start moving up, so we do get the Marauders as well as Chaos Warriors heading to the back objective, and we should get there eventually. These are Battle Pilgrims. Battle Pilgrims will get torn to shreds by Chaos Warriors. Obviously, they don't have the armor piercing to deal with them, and King Lowen's getting smashed up a little bit. The other Chaos Giant came in to avenge his buddy. One of my Exalted Heroes is broken back, and the Grail Knights are really, really committed to the fight. Festus also nearby. Hell Cannon shot does rip apart a couple of those Knights, but the problem is Festus not quite able to get over there to support his buddies. We really, really want that healing, whether it be the Mortis Engine engine or the AoE healing on all these characters. But if we can maybe take out Louen, we might be able to kind of pull a W out here in this game. Another Hell Cannon shot does pick off a couple of those Grail Knights, or just one. Wow, direct shot did not get the job done. Now this is not good. Festus getting pushed back by the Grail Guardians and more cavalry. That's going to be a leadership penalty for my army, but Louen does end up losing that fight right there, which was good. The two Exalted Heroes of Khorne, proving their worth to the Blood God as they continue to really grind through right here. Chaos Giants clubbing it. Maybe we'll be able to flip this one. We'll have to see. Here you can see the Chaos Warrior Great Weapons absolutely dominate those Battle Pilgrims, but we are really, really running out of time here. It's getting a little bit tight as my horsemen are being driven off by those Grail Knights, and we're up on the objective now. We had the capture wave, but Louen was able to get his bearings, call in some reinforcements from the lady, and the Knights of the Realm are going to be moving in to just hammer down most of my units right here. And that is going to be the Exalted Heroes probably dying. They had a really, really good run, fought super hard. The other giant is now going to be fully isolated by pretty much the entire Bretonnian army, and that's the problem, right? When I'm in a desperation situation, I can't really take my time. You have to put yourself in dangerous situations to get the objectives. And Hadrius was able to really capitalize on that with his mobility and great hero micro to pick off my Death Star style of play, which I thought was absolutely masterclass. So that's going to be GG. Couple Chaos Warriors still trying to move up. We got more Marauders on their way. Hell Cannon still doing some good damage. But that is going to be it. The Knights of Bretonnia have done it, and man, oh man, I'm really, really having a lot of fun seeing them do well. I haven't had a chance to play them too much, but it seems like the Elite Knights really are the way to go. The fact that they have armor piercing just makes them ubiquitously good, like in almost every situation. But I did like my build. Overall, I think Festus was good. The Exalted Heroes both paid for themselves. The Giants both paid for themselves. Like, it was a close game. Even though, I don't know, he was like definitely more in a commanding position, but I felt like there was a bit of a comeback at one point where we started to get the side objective. We took our home objective. But we didn't just quite have that staying power. 2,000 of the Chosen was great. The Hell Cannon was a mistake. I think just cutting this and getting another Chosen out could have given me a lot more momentum, maybe to even take the objectives. So overall, I think the build was good. I would cut the Hell Cannon for another Chosen of Nurgle. Maybe just switch one of my champions out, or Exalted Heroes, to be a regular one to give me that extra mark of Chaos. And I do think on a smaller map, this Chaos build would have a much better time. The fact that this one was kind of big and I had to move around a lot, not like an Itza or a Gates of Ekerend, where this would probably be a good idea. But yeah, on this big map, it was tough. And he was really able to outmaneuver me with his speed and good cavalry play. But yeah, so on a big map, how would I play this as Warriors of Chaos? I really like the Exalted Heroes. I would honestly probably cut the Giant. And do I want to bring a Bunicaster? I have to experiment with like what magic might be very good against the new Bretonnian Elite Knights. But yeah, probably cutting the Giants on a bigger map because they just can't be everywhere at once. Although they only cost 1,400, man. Giants feel like they're such a good deal. I don't know. I'm really happy to see that as well. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Looking at the value for Bretonnia, 2,400 on the big man. 2,000, 3,100, 32. Wow, yeah. That makes sense though, but to be fair, these guys were also fighting like ideal targets. They were fighting trolls. They were fighting mounted heroes. They were fighting giants. I mean, it was things that Grail Knights are really good against, right? So maybe just like a warrior line, right? Like if somebody's going to come in with just those knights, maybe just like a mass wall of like great weapons, like Chaos Warriors with Chosen, just moving up and then using Festus to spam like map-wide healing spells on them. That could be kind of cool too. GG, see you guys next time, and that's it for tonight.